it was almost surreal for me. Like I didn't think at
Hmm.
first, like I heard about it, I'm like, it's no way.
Charlie Kirk. So while we were all kind of bracing for 9/11 2025 and the weight of all of that, Charlie Kirk's assassination.
And I like to add um, that the weeks leading up, we had Irina, what was 2 weeks before, a week and a half beforehand,
About, yeah.
right? And then a few days before that was the church shooting, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it was four
Oh my God, you're
monument,
right. Oh,
four monumental, catastrophes that happened before,
yeah.
or well, three monumental catastrophes that happened right before the 9/11. What is it, 24th anniversary
Yeah.
of 9/11? So um, it,
So it was a lot.
yeah, it was a lot. They
So
always
that,
say like things happen in threes. Like yeah, those were our three, and they happened super quickly,
uh,
all back to back.
yep. So what
And
Mark is talking about was the Annunciation Catholic Church shooting on August 27, 2025. So yeah, basically like it was like week after week after week. It was just kind of staggered that something was happening. I I feel kind of crappy that I forgot that, but that was Irina happened. We were just reeling from that, and then there was the shooting at the church, and then we were just reeling from that, and then the assassination of Charlie Kirk on 9/10/2025.
yeah,
So just when we all thought we can have a moment to breathe and just reflect on something that happened, which was also catastrophically monumental 24 years ago, another thing was served up.
yeah.
So before I go on and start talking to like fancy, I just kind of want to get your raw emotion on this and tell me what you think about or what you felt and thought about that moment.
It was almost surreal for me. Like I didn't think at
Hmm.
first. Like I heard about it, I'm like, it's no way. Like
Hmm.
just this utter disbelief. And then I saw the video, and the first thing that jumped to my mind was this is something that happens when you cannot reason with something. Like you not that you can't reason with them. It is you cannot form an argument, right? And you are just so deep in your ideology that you are just prone to violence. And
Hmm.
this is not like Charlie was not the most radical. He was not the most not nearly the most violent person. He actually had open conversation with people, and they continued to just be hateful, and all he did was speak the truth. And you know, John 8:39 through 47, truth is love. You speak the truth, right? And I'm using a Bible verse. I think Charlie spoke his biblical truth. And honestly, the most radical thing that he ever perpetuated for people was to live the American dream, get married young, have
Have
children,
kids.
and build a family.
Hmm.
And if that is radical, then I guess I'm a radicalist too.
I guess so. Was that all of it? I really want to give you space to
Yeah,
speak on
I
it because
mean,
there's a lot.
that was the gist of it. I mean, again, like it's also again like just touch on Irina and Charlie. Like again, I'm going to go in a Bible verse, Revelations 3:15 through 16, talks about being a lukewarm Christian, right? You can't say that you are
Oh,
okay with what's going on,
yeah.
when violence like this happens. You know,
I, I'm, I'm,
but if you're not familiar with 3:15, um, Revelations 3:15 through 16. It is the apostle. He's talking about he's using an analogy for tepid water. It's either
Mm,
refreshing or cleansing. So he says, I know your deeds and that you're neither hot nor cold. I wish you were either one or the other. So
yeah,
that because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. Uh, Again, like God does not want you on the fence. He's either you're for him or you're against him. Like that
yeah,
is either one. And people are really showing their colors when they advocate and celebrate a good man's death, a father's death. You know,
mm.
he's leaving behind
Two
two
children.
daughters and a wife that he's only been married for 4 years.
Yep. And his kids are young. They're like, what, two,
Very
three
young.
years old? Yeah.
Yeah. And for his daughters to see that happen in front of him is the most painstaking part of it.
Yeah. And well, I'm gonna spit on my experience of it. So when it happened on 9/10, um, I called you, I think,
Mhm.
and I called you, and I remember immediately you were like, "We need to speak on this.
Yeah.
We need to shoot an episode." And that was,
Yeah. 'Cause
I
I
I
was pretty fired up.
I felt the same,
Yeah.
but something in me felt, and it's interesting that you brought up 315 and 316, speaking about tepid water. Um, Something in me, I wouldn't say it was out of tepidness, but out of the need to further understand, because my, let's say, accusation of the people, and I'm using provocative language. I'm only using this to simplify things. Um, my accusation, my perspective of the left is that they have definitely chosen a temperature, and they have definitely chosen courses of action that speak to their morals or lack thereof.
Yeah.
So to me, I wanted to retain some degree of morality and not be so impulsive, because impulsivity created the fractionalization and the tribalization that created the devastation and destruction of 2020. And I wanted to avoid that. And I'm glad that I took that moment to consider, because largely and beautifully, that community, the, the community of the church, the community of the faithful, did exactly that. They came together, they prayed, they spoke to their frustrations and angers and disapproval of what happened, but there was not one riot, no cities burned. They came together in peace, in love, in reflection, and in mourning, and cried together. And
They
that is
held vigil.
so,
Yeah. They
so
held vigils instead of riots. And that just
yes,
like there's when you have God in your life. Now I'm not saying that other people didn't have God in their life,
correct.
but largely, if you have God in your life, you're more likely to pursue this route.
And I'll speak to the secular perspective on this, because this is where I'm coming from. I have long said for the longest time that I am a traditional liberal, a classical liberal. My understanding of liberal values kind of solidified around maybe 2010 to 2013. And I thought, this is the side of compassion and progress and consideration for the individual. Because my thought on faith was my upbringing, my parents' rigid Catholic understanding of things, the Westboro Baptist Church, Southern Christians are terrible human beings. And since then, I've seen the humanity of everyone. And I think that's the important part, is the humanity. And what I saw looking out was the humanity in the vigils, the humanity in the prayers, and the inhumanity of the riots, the inhumanity of the people celebrating a father, a husband, and a leader's murder.
Mm.
And I was more thoroughly, I was angry.
Yeah.
I was incensed. I was angry. I could not, and I just, it just, to me, it was like if there was ever a time where we could have regained the middle ground for people who are on the left, this would have been a great opportunity for that. And they just proved more so that they are absolutely deranged. When
Yeah.
you celebrate openly on social freaking media,
Mm. For the world to see.
for the world to see, and I am
Mm.
glad. What I'm going to say is, I do not advocate for the revocation of someone's First Amendment rights, but a company is well within their purview to fire you if you misrepresent them because you said something that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Approving of the assassination of or murder of someone because of what they said is not the same as defending yourself, pulling out a gun and shooting them because they were on the verge of causing bodily harm or injury to you. I don't remember the legal words in Florida, but that's the standard. And they had deviated from standards, and they had radicalized someone because they had convinced us by changing words, changing definitions, and saying that silence is violence. Your words are the same as physical violence,
Yeah.
and they just redefined everything by and they would. You and I know historically what a fascist is in Mussolini, what
Mm-hmm.
what a Nazi is in Hitler, and what a tyrannical government looks like under Mao, and what happened in Vietnam.
Stalin.
All these places, Stalin,
Yeah.
Lenin, in communist Russia. We know what authoritarian dictatorships look like. And they redefined all this so that they could call everybody that they just didn't agree with
Yeah.
a,
Fascist.
a
Nazi. Probably.
fascist, a Nazi, a racist, a bigot, all these things.
Yeah.
And it shuts down conversation.
Yeah.
So that's why they couldn't agree with and they couldn't understand what Charlie was doing, because what he was doing was having discourse. And sometimes discourse leads to disagreement, but disagreements do not equal murder.
No. No. Because
That's
I have disagreements with people all the time. I
all
have
the time.
no inclination of harming them ever. Now, I may think that they're not smart sometimes, but that's also a reflection on me. Like I don't know everything, and I have to sit
Correct.
back and be upset for a little bit and think about the words that I use and like, oh, maybe they have a point.
Yep.
So yeah,
No, you're
it
right.
was it's very. I guess being a father, it really hit
Yeah.
home for me.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And I don't know Charlie personally, and
I don't either.
I've watched his videos,
Yeah, I'd catch
and
it every now and then.
there's times where I didn't agree with him, and there's more times
Yep.
than not I did agree with everything he said, and I didn't think he was a bad person. I thought he was having discourse with people, and people will be getting upset with him for speaking truth.
hmm
And I'm like, well, if you can't handle truth, then what are we doing as society?
What are we allowed to speak on?
Yeah, what are we allowed to speak on if you can't handle truth and you get so fired up and so upset about it?
That you murder someone.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised, having been steeped in secular, atheistic, agnostic notions of things. I wish I forgot to do this. I have this book, but I also have a copy of Che Guevara's Guerrilla Warfare. Because when I was younger, I glamorized Che Guevara because he's kind of a figure when it comes to revolution. He was Fidel Castro's like right hand man. He's famous because he's on the cover of like Rage Against the Machines, one of Rage Against the Machines albums. And I
Yeah. I
speak
think
to
Colin Kaepernick wore his
Yep,
shirt like proudly one day, and I'm
yep,
like, yeah,
yep.
you're
You're
Delulu.
an idiot. You're a freaking
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah.
And the reason why I want to say this is because if you look at the life and deeds of Jesus Christ. If he was as a secularist, if you just look at him as a man, he is perfect.
Yeah.
If you look at the life of Charlie Kirk, the only wrong you can point to that this man ever did was speak.
Mhm.
And I'm going to bring it to this. This is going to be hella controversial. If you look at the life of the sanctified, martyred, worshipped Martin Luther King, he was like the P. Diddy of the civil rights era. He had a rival pastor write a book about him. I don't remember the gentleman's name. I believe the name of the book is "And the Walls Come Tumbling Down."
Mhm.
The FBI reported on and monitored him. Granted, J. Edgar Hoover, um, who ran the FBI at the time, was bitterly did not like MLK, and we can take the things that are in those reports with a grain of salt. But the man was carrying on with orgies. He was a philanderer and cheated on his wife. He is allegedly had a fist fight with a woman who was unwilling to indulge in sexual acts with him and a group of friends. That is not a godly man.
No.
And we're not even speaking to the fact that Stanley Levison, who was one of his ghostwriters, was an out and out socialist. So
Yeah. The
this,
more I learned about MLK and what we've been taught in school, the more I feel,
you feel
because for so
deceived,
long we were taught he was a good man, right?
and he
For
looks
so
like
long.
he's an
And
orator.
yeah,
He speaks well.
yeah. And this is like, and I I do believe people were put in place and just put on this pedestal, like almost like too perfect, right?
Yes.
Um, and then when you finally pull back the layers and go down to the truth, you find all this stuff about them. I'm like, when when I found out that MLK was an adulterer, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. And it was from a coworker of mine, black coworker of mine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I was like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, go look it up. And I looked it
Yes.
up. I'm like, oh my
It's
God, like,
it's widely known.
yeah.
It
And
is.
it's almost like you meet your idol and they are not who they say they are.
Yeah.
And then
Now,
that's basically, yeah.
no, I'm gonna let you finish your thought.
Yeah, and that's how I feel. Like, for so long, 30 plus years, you were taught that Martin Luther King was a good man.
Hmm.
He fought for your rights, and everything he said, was bound in truth and in light. And you find out that maybe those words were truth, but everything else was a lie. His life was a
Even
lie.
even those words, man. His most famous line was, and I'm going to butcher this, was about how one day he hopes to see his children judged not by the color of their skin, but the content of their character.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful line. When you look at that line just on the surface, it speaks to being judged on merit.
Yes.
Absolutely. But when you consider who wrote that line, Stanley Levison, the communist, and Stanley Levison was a very well-read man. I think he was a lawyer. I believe he referenced that line from a Civil War document that was written about unifying North and South Carolina. And it's almost word for word exactly the same. I have to do my due diligence. I do have to look this up. I just got that from Chad Jackson's conversation. Um, but it is not truth yet again. And the reason why this gets me so fired up is because the reason why I want to go to original sources is because we're trying to define the world based on words of people who have no steeping in reality. And they make judgments on the world and on others and then they cast, then they punish, and then they murder.
Hmm.
The the person, on the 27th of August at the church, uh, and this is not the first time that anyone has deemed this to be a necessary thing that they needed to do for their faction or their side, is they murdered children
Yeah.
praying in church
Yeah.
because they were indoctrinated under false pretenses. And if you, to go back to what you said about MLK and how you felt like you were deceived, that's what the devil does.
Yeah.
And
He's a liar.
it makes me feel strange because of where I came from and how I grew up to use language like that's what the devil does.
Yeah.
But if you were just to take that from a secular place, if the devil is symbolic of all that is bad, lying is bad, defining the world according to lies is bad, and then casting judgment on the world based on lies is bad.
Hmm.
I don't understand how that doesn't make sense. And that leads me to why it was so tragic and disappointing to see the reactions of people on the left celebrating the death of a man, a leader, a father, and a husband, because all of us as human beings can relate to any part of that. His father cried because his son was gone.
Hmm.
Regardless of whatever you think about Erica Kirk, she is alone for the rest of, well, not probably not for the rest of her life. I don't know, whatever decision she decides to make.
She's a widower.
She's a
There's
widow because
yeah.
of this,
Yeah.
who now has to raise two children. And what's sad is that at some point, regardless of how much she shields those children might see the image of their father getting murdered in front of hundreds of people,
Multiple times throughout their life.
multiple freaking times. That, regardless of your stripe, creed, religion, anything, should disgust you.
Yeah. I
And
do believe that we are living in a time of spiritual warfare. There's I mean, I felt it when I started my spiritual journey back in 2020, and it's more so relevant now, that evil does exist, and it's
yeah,
acting upon us
yes,
daily through everyday life. I mean, we see it all the time, and I feel people are desensitized to it. They're not coming to it, and I think that's why there's such a powerful movement within the church and
yeah,
within our young people. Young people are more flocking to religion now more
yeah.
than ever because of what is happening. What is happening?
People, yeah, people are seeking truth, and I'm gonna wrap it up here since you're gonna be here taking off in a second. We can continue this at another time if needed. But I agree with you, and I'm gonna always try to make this relatable to people who aren't in the church, who aren't necessarily reading the Bible, who aren't necessarily wanting to believe in that. But if you just look at this from a secular, unreligious perspective, there is definitely a war between truth and lies, a war between good and evil, a war between what is right and wrong. And it is wrong to murder an innocent refugee who came here and didn't do anything, and it is wrong to allow a man who has proven himself to have a track record of evils. All of these things are wrong, and we've lost sight of that. And I think that's why people are having, you can call it a spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it. People are feeling misled by the things that they used to believe in,
Hmm.
and finding and looking, just like I am with the Bible. We're trying to find truth, and it seems like the only place that seems to be providing any consistency and any real compassionate kindness and warmth is the Word of God, is the church, is the Bible.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. We got 2 minutes. Do you have any last words before we
I
go?
think I think society has poured too much into idolatry.
Yes.
They follow celebrities, they follow talking heads, and accept that as truth. And I feel that I've never really conspired to that. I mean, you could say that, like, oh, you follow Andy Frisella and you take everything. I disagree with Andy a lot of
Yeah.
times. Um, and I know that he is just a man.
Yeah.
He's a very successful man, but he bleeds just like I do. He's gone through struggles just like I have. So the
Mhm.
only person that I say that I would follow to the grave is Christ our Lord,
Yeah.
and that is it.
Relating to someone is not worship of someone.
Yes,
And I think in this world, people having been born into a world where there's not as much of a priority on truth and the word and God and some kind of moral compass, get lost because they want to create their own worlds in a very Luciferian way. Um, this is like I said, this has been a very heavy episode. This is not the episode that we wanted to really work on, or episodes that we necessarily wanted to put together, but it it happened and is going to be a part of history, and I think it's important, given our focus and mission, to try and guide newer generations of young men and women, to share our experiences, our struggles, and our own lessons. And this time in history has definitely gleaned or provided a lot of lessons for Mark, myself, and our current generation of people.
for sure.
Mark, thank you very much, as always, for your friendship. We're going on, what is it, like 5 years, more
Yeah,
than 5 years strong. We
yeah,
started the podcast in 2020, so it's been beautiful to watch you grow, beautiful to watch you become a father in every way. And I thank you for the inspiration of your own strength and your own rediscovery of Christ and the church. And thanks for just being a cool friend.
oh, of course, man. Hey, you've been there for me for all the hard times, so
Yeah,
you're very much loved and appreciated. So I'm just happy
thank
that
you.
you're coming back to the kingdom.
I'll take it. All right, man. I know you've got to do your deeds, doing good in the world. So I'm gonna let you go.
All right, brother.
Take it easy. Love you.
All right, bye.
Bye.